Hello, beautiful ones. Welcome to Unicorn Light Tarot. I sincerely hope everybody is staying sane out there and doing well as they can be with all the changes and transitions that are happening in the world right now. For those of you who are brand new, welcome. It's such an honor to be able to read for you today. And for those of you who are returning, thank you so much for returning. Either way, if you clicked on to these messages that are about to commence, I sincerely hope that they give you a little bit of peace. And as always on Unicorn Light Tarot, we are looking for some practical ways to implement into your life. Trying not to. Tarot is a very beautiful way to sort of help and direct your life, but always it's about your intuition and who you are, and always listen to who you are and what your own heart is telling you always. And today I thought what we would do is, because there's so much transition, because there's so much going on, we have our three piles. I thought we would concentrate on messages from your future self. I know that when I look back over the last 10 years of my life, that we're not going to put a specific sort of time limit on this in 20 years time versus just your future self. When I look back, and if I had been there to tell myself other things, oh, you shouldn't have worried about that, don't worry about that, it would have been wonderful. So this is, let's just see this as a letter from your future self to your current self. We'll be concentrating on themes that will be coming up for you, direct messages, and how we can help you get to the future self where the letter was created and sent back in time. Not to get all woo-woo on you on timelines and everything, but again, practical information of what we can get you, so we can get you to that future self as quickly as possible, and certainly ease any anxiety and fear that you may have about what's going on right now, to shed some clarity and light and some grounded information that we have for you today. So as always, we have three piles. The piles will always be time-stamped down below, so always feel free to take as much time as you need to. It's really important to really click into the energy of the reading, and that way it resonates with you a little bit more. So if you need to take some time and pause the video and breathe into your space, take a little meditation, and really clear your mind while we ask for a circle and a bubble of love and light. We're always looking for energy and messages that resonate with you right now, only of high frequency and of high light and love. That's all we are dealing with today, and that's all I ever deal with. So on the first pile, we have this beautiful, I actually think that this is, I thought it was a quartz crystal, but I actually think it's rose quartz. And then we have our beautiful symbol here of balance, complete balance with nature in our circle here. We also, I also took these words, you have those words that you put on, well, they're magnetics, and normally people put them on their fridge and you can make words out of them. That's what we do. I love to do that as a writer. So I took a couple of words for you. I just pointed and shut my eyes, and the words will give you for each pile just a little bit more of a foundation and an idea and an energy of what you'll be working on and the messages that will be coming through. So we have this, and of course you don't know what they are. I know what they are because I did look at them, but I don't know which one is which. So that's for pile one with the rose quartz and the symbol for nature, complete nature. And then for pile two, we have this one here. Just feel into the energy of it. And then we have this beautiful bracelet that says blessed be, and then we have the lotus flower here that grows in mud coming out into the phoenix rising. And then we have this final one here, pile three, and that is again honing in on the energy of that without knowing what it actually says. And this is a cute little bracelet here that says sister, so for ancestors and family units. So yeah, that's what we will do. So again, timestamps are down below. Always feel free to subscribe if you feel as though this is energy that should be in your life. Always feel free to give me a thumbs up if everything resonates, and let me know in the comments. I love hearing from you guys. And we will move swiftly on. So I am going to move pile two out of the way for now and go ahead and move pile three. We will be coming back to them very, very quickly. So if you chose pile one and this beautiful rose quartz here with the sign of the complete nature, all of the elements, This is for you. This reading is for you. And also, the first thing that we're going to do here, again, these are messages from your future self, and your word is doesn't. So your word, pile one, doesn't, is literally, in a practical way, showing you what doesn't apply anymore, reaffirming what no longer works for you, and not even just reaffirming what no longer works for you, literally taking that action, that kinetic energy, and pushing it out of your life. That is definitely the platform that we will be working on. So the two oracle cards that we have today, messages from your future self, forgiveness. And then we have the Four of Autumn. Manage your resources wisely. Achieve a balance in how you spend and save money. Help out those who are less fortunate. So the first message that I'm getting for you, pile one, is that definitely forgiveness needs to happen. We've got the purple here. We've got the crown chakra, but it's also really... I'm getting a vision of the lotus flower, which was actually on pile two, but I'm getting that movement out of the mud and the old again falling away. But that doesn't, again, not putting up with anything. I feel as though there's a lot of things flooding in right now, so just give me a second. But the first thing that I'm getting for you, the first message that I'm getting for you, pile one, is that it's not okay to put up with things that you are done with. This idea that you need to wait and meet people on their own level. There's no reason to wait for that. Now, again, I want to be really clear, going in there like a bull in a china shop and going in with the ego, you must see things my way, obviously is not what your future self is trying to tell you. But there is an essence of... there's a layer of guilt. And again, these are always general readings, and it comes from all different sort of places and different levels for the general reading in pile one. But there's a level of guilt, and I think that the one thing that I'm picking up on profoundly is the level of guilt is that you didn't act as quickly as you could have to protect yourself and protect who you were in the past. And there is a forgiveness that's going on there from yourself to yourself. And I feel as though your future self is really trying to tell you that balance can happen immediately once this forgiveness happens. And a practical, grounded way to be able to do that is to reclaim your power by literally not just throwing out what doesn't resonate, but not taking on the opinions and the projections of others. A lot of you, I feel as though, are extremely open and are really... worried in some ways about criticizing others. Now, it's the way in which we do this. You've already shifted your voice. If it's coming from a place of you will fall in line with me, or coming directly from the ego, people absolutely feel that, and without even taking on the information that or the perspective that you're trying to give them, they clamp up and they close up, right? But that's not what you're doing. Now, if you're offering a truth of the situation, and if there's a universal truth and there's a personal perspective truth, really honing in on the perspective of the truth that is universal truth, and speaking from that truth, not necessarily to educate, but to not be silent, and to not expect necessarily anybody to fall in line, but to not be silent anymore about this, pile one. So the message that I'm getting is there's no reason to wait. This idea of this forgiveness is that you just let I keep getting this sort of understanding, or this energy of people like railroading you with their version of reality. And even when in the past I feel as though you try to stand up or you try to articulate yourself, you got railroaded by people who did not allow you to have your own opinion, or if you were critical but approaching it from a place of the heart, people were so defensive that you stopped doing it. And there's a part of yourself that didn't forgive yourself for doing that. You are a blessed person on this earth. Definitely a star seed and definitely a light worker. I do believe that everybody that comes from this channel at very least subscribes or is attracted to this channel in some ways is not only on a spiritual path, but do really understand that they are absolutely on a path of starseed, some sort of light worker as such. And I feel as though this railroading of you dumbed down an aspect of yourself that wanted to speak out about injustice, that wanted to speak from the heart, that felt as though it was your duty to do that and bring wisdom. And because you were shot down so many times, you stopped doing that. Now, because you have such a beautiful and a pure heart, I feel as though the forgiveness of others doing that and projecting that defensiveness upon you, I feel as though you have released that. It's not what your future self is saying. I feel as though you're coming from a point now where your future self is saying, please forgive aspects of yourself. That's this there's a voice that's still trying to come out. There's a trapped resistance of that voice that's still trying to come out. And sometimes it causes like physical stuff like in your throat or certainly in your belly and your digestion, because you're not digesting the world as you want to, because you really want to say something. And every time you've said, you've been shot down for it or somewhat ridiculed or at least it's not been taken seriously in a way that sort of made you revert into yourself. But again, it's not that these people don't matter. It's just that wasn't an example of what you were supposed to, the experience you were supposed to go through to gain your voice. Your voice was always there and it should be there all of the time. And I feel as though the main message that I'm getting for you is, speak your truth, even if it makes you shake, right? I feel like I'm paraphrasing that from somewhere. Whatever doesn't work for you, stand up for it and use your voice now. Don't wait. And if there's anything getting in the way of that, then forgive the part of you, forgive that person that you were when other people railroaded you. You were the best that you could do. That's all you could do at that time. You tried your best, but you have grown and you've thrown that out, that version of reality out, and really rise up in this notion of resources. In this, that the 4 of autumn, I'm getting the resources that I'm getting here is not physical money. It's the resources of the value that you put on yourself in the world. And the way in which you will come back to balance and feel connected in the world is when you use your voice now. So whatever doesn't work for you, throw out physically and stand in your own truth, even if your voice shakes, and do that now. And if you do have those blockages, forgive yourself. As you forgive yourself, all of those, I feel as though there's a lot of throat stuff going on with pile 1 again. Physical stuff, general stuff. If it's not actually a physical part of you, it's not actually physicalizing in your throat as hurting, then, that's wonderful. But for those of you who've had digestive stuff, or I feel as though the left side of some people too, the taking in of energy from the left side is sort of aching because you want to take in more energy from the world, but you're not connected to it. You're not connected to it because you've been severed from your real truth. And there's a part of you that believed in the forgiveness process this will release. There's a part of you that wrongly believed that you didn't have enough articulation. You didn't have enough strength to get your voice or your opinion across when you were shut down. That's not absolutely true. It's just that you surrounded yourself with people who were in so much pain and so much darkness that they would have barked at you in the dark just to prove their point so they could feel okay at the end of the night. Again, we are not saying anything or making any judgments about the people who treated you like this. They are in absolute pain, or they were then. They're on their own spiritual journey, and most of them, I feel as though, are doing what you're doing and coming to their own resolution of this in their own time. But it doesn't mean that you need to put up with any of this right now. So, take the boundaries one step further, is your future self, and literally throw out all of the energy of that past of people doing that to you. Forgive aspects of yourself for not feeling you were strong enough. That's just where you were. There was so much purity and beauty to you at the time. You really took in everybody else's point of view. And I think one of the things that, your future self is also telling you is that, taking in the perspective of absolutely everybody is wonderful, but at some point it needs to be filtered through your own truth, because that's how you trust yourself. And your own truth is not a personal truth anymore. It is a personal truth, but it's melded into the universal truth, which is filtered through humanity. So you don't have to worry about, like, is this coming from my ego? Is this just how I feel? Yes, but many more feel like you. And if you're here to not neutralize injustice, you can't neutralize it, but you're here to transform as alchemists the very low baseline of fear into love. And you can only do that if we address truth, we address injustice. That's what we're doing in America, across the world, globally right now. So stepping into that power right now is what will serve you in the most extreme and beautiful way. And when I say extreme, I mean from your past self, and I mean past self, not present self. That might seem extreme to you, but you have so much incredible power. And when you articulate yourself, it's absolutely beautiful. The world will hear you differently now when you take your boundaries one step further and say, not only am I not putting up with this, I'm going to speak up against it, or I'm going to speak the truth that's humanity. But I can literally just take the energy that's just not getting it, or is, not there right now, and I can disperse it. I don't need to take on everybody else's point of view right now. You don't have to take it on. You can say, totally respect where you are. You're on your own personal journey, and let it go. You're a very sensitive being, taking on so much energy caused you to doubt yourself. Forgive all aspects of yourself. And also you can work with your third eye too, which also will work with your throat and articulation and how you articulate yourself, which is extremely powerful. So let's go ahead and get you a little bit more clarity on these messages. I'm using the Goddess Tarot today. I think I did on my last one too for clarity. I'm feeling the goddess power here, the divine feminine rising up in her fierce way, as we're seeing all over the world right now. So let's see what we have here. Yes. So it did create a little bit of a process for you where you, again, it's very much about reclaiming your power, but your power is specifically linked to how you articulate yourself, and you have been cutting that off. And I feel as though I'm gonna go ahead, and I think this is the Earth something. Earth magic cards. I just in case any of you are feeling the energy of them and you want to purchase them or yourself. Earth magic cards here. I'm definitely getting the same message for you over and over again. It's coming back into your truth and your power. And I feel as though, as an extra layer to this, as an extra level of clarity, you did link a little bit of your self-autonomy, your self-authority on how you were treated from others. So that's another reason to let go of that old energy, forgive yourself, and move into this sense of balance here. And once you do that, that sense of balance and that sense of justice comes back into your life, and you feel that power. You'll be able to move in any direction that you want. I feel as though you as a practical person, and we all have hopefully a practical side to us, we have to be somewhat grounded to the earth, right? But you had a very linear fashion. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z and move in this direction. But actually a good part of your personality is to do with freedom, and to do with sort of like lifting off and seeing where you go. But because of monitoring yourself, the energy around the monitoring of yourself, cause you to go in this linear fashion, but you will gain your freedom back and automatic balance. What happened before is that you tried to balance based on the world that was in and around you and based on how you were treated. If you pull that out of existence, then you have this innate freedom to move in any direction. And that's a very exciting world for you. Some of you have felt stuck. This is the way to feel unstuck now. You've done a tremendous amount of healing and transformation transformation and alchemy upon yourself. So this is, if you can do this quicker from your future self, you can move into your future self quicker. And we all have different timelines of visualizing that timeline of who you are. You can move into that timeline and bring that into your present existence quicker. That's really just the essence of manifesting. Reflection, yes, absolutely. So that's just saying a reflection with the nature and what goes hidden underneath too, the reflection of what is hidden. So I feel as though you are the sort of person who does reflect a lot. So just saying, oh, reflect, that's a bit woo-woo. What does that mean? You do that anyway. But it's being really conscious of the reflection and the perspectives that you allowed in, and that what was hidden from you, what you hid from yourself. You were really hurt by the way people treated you when you voiced your light. And this is something that's been engraved in you from past lives. But you are here in this generation. It may look like, pardon my French, it may look like a bit of a shit show right now with a ton of chaos. But you are actually here as an alchemist to use that chaos magic. You know how to work within these chaos. You've worked in this chaos in past lifetimes. You know how to do that. It's about pulling in that chaos and realizing what does and doesn't work for you and putting those needs first. So taking all of those perspectives and not taking them personally and really shifting, the timeline, the DNA, what's in your DNA of being disconnected from your own truth and bringing that out sooner rather than later, literally as quickly as you can. Now, I want to be clear, you've done a lot of work and transformation and activation has happened to you. This, once we realize what doesn't work for us and we can calmly let go of people who treated us like that without giving them bad vibes, without judging them, you can just say, I'm done. And when we do that, we have a circle of, and it's an essence. I don't want to be dramatic here, but I'm just going to say it because this is how a part of you believed it. There's an essence of violence. That's how you felt when people actually treated you that way and disregarded what your beliefs and what you were trying to say. And even sort of like really try to call you on it, almost like you were in a law court or something. It really hurt, not just your feeling, but it went to the core of who you were. And so it's really important for you to really go within, forgive yourself for not a part of you that didn't feel as though you were enough. If you were enough, if you could articulate, you would have been able to neutralize that situation. That is not true. A lot of those people too that treated you like that, you have a connection from your past lives with these people also. They've come in for certain contracts for you to remember. And to shake off and sever these versions of reality so you can step into your wholeness, into your power. Now, these people who treated you like this may not be in your life anymore, but they served as something very important. And they may redefine themselves and come back into your life. And this is not about, and I don't want to focus on this is not about your relationship with anybody else than yourself. So, I don't want to focus on the people who actually treated you this way at all. I want to focus on how you treated yourself and how hard you were on yourself when this happened and your articulations were not seen for the truth that they were. So, whatever does not apply anymore, please check it out and do that now. If somebody does not, and it's not about like, you need to see my point of view. It's not that. I do want to reiterate, this is not about the ego. You are literally speaking from universal truth now. If people do not see that in their own way, again, they have their own version of reality. People who will not fall in line, I don't like that. People who will see the light will be attracted to it, and you are the light. So you need to embrace every aspect of yourself. And this is how you can do this. Bring yourself back into your own personal identity. Balance out what didn't work before. And shut out, literally, it's okay to have those barricades and say, not even a barricade, it's okay to say, this is not where you're at. That's totally fine. I don't want to, again, we're not dealing with ego, so, but I'm just going to put this out there. Jesus wasn't bothered about the people who didn't understand who he was. You have come to this earth in this generation. It is absolutely no coincidence to do, in fact, an essence of what he did. You're very much connected with Jesus in that way, and with Mother Mary, and I would say Mary Magdalene particularly also. So those can be your angels, your absolute angels, to push you, pull you, or to signify and create this change within you that creates this balance that allows you to shine your light in a full beam. Right now, I'm getting you down a dark sort of motorway or highway, I guess you guys call them here, and you've got one beam on in the front, right, which is great. Honestly, it's great. It'll get you from A to B, but your higher self, your future self, is asking you to turn on that second beam. And that's all you can do. And again, you've done the work to do this in an instance. And sometimes all it takes is this realization to activate what it is that you need just to move forward to do this. So again, these are my, well, again, you don't know if this is your first reading with me, but I have created these 25 oracle cards, which I did actually to run parallel to my unicorn course, which will be coming out very, very soon. I'm very excited about it. If any of you are interested in getting your magic back, 21 day guide of the way of the magical unicorn, your inner child will love it. Do let me know in the comments. But this is definitely part of this. And I like to give you just a final message with these energy in and around this reading. I hope this reading gave you some grounding, some insight. Let the releasing begin. Nothing that was meant for you disappears. You can never be left behind. Well, I mean, we couldn't ask for a better one. Right there, the number 9 2 coming into the number 10, moving really up to from 9 to 10. That's definitely an indication that you are absolutely on the precipice of this version of yourself. If anything, your inner child is definitely speaking out here, but your future self is telling you, quicker the better. And do remember, really, when you're releasing the old, you're not betraying anyone or anything, and you're not saying, I don't honor your perspective. For those of you who are too open, again, this is a general reading. Some of you might be too open with your chakras. You can work on that too. You can have Jesus, Archangel Michael, anybody that you work with. But I'm feeling Jesus and Archangel Michael too. If you don't know how to do it yourself, that's fine. That's what the angels are there for. There are many more than 7 chakras, but we're just going to stick with the 7 chakras for now. You can always say, please help me close my chakras so they're open enough so I can be receptive to the world, but closed so I'm not taking in too much energy and feeling overwhelmed, especially as sensitive as you are, empathic as you are. And when you're out in crowds and out in the real world, especially with what's going on right now, it's important to do that. But if you're feeling overwhelmed by even being on the media or whatever it is that you're doing, just ask your spirit guides to come in, whomever you work with and whomever you feel comfortable with, and they're not shutting down your chakras. They just might be too open. They're balancing them so you're taking in the right kind of information and staying grounded. So remember, releasing everything is not a betrayal to the old. You don't have to take in absolutely every single perspective. Your perspective is absolutely paramount first. You're in a position that perspective can shift at any moment because you're ready to learn, you're ready to listen, you're ready to give space to others, and you're ready to take on new information. So you don't have to worry about being stuck in your ways. And people who have disappeared and people who have treated you like that and have disappeared or have gone out of your life, they will either come back into your life with a new contract based on you profound respect on both paths, or your connection in this lifetime has served its purpose. People often worry that they're missing out on anything, and I can assure you, pile one, that anything and anyone that is meant for you will be coming to you. Now, when they come into your life and this stuff comes into your life, you have free will. You have every single right to push it away. We hope you won't do that. I don't think you will, especially if you're coming back into your power, but it will come into your life. You never have to worry about it. That it's a given. And we do have free will. We don't always know exactly what's going to happen, but there's certain people, certain circumstances, certain situations that you agreed on, that you wanted to learn from, that you wanted in this lifetime, that was already predestined before you came down. Again, how it manifests, when it manifests, what you do with it when it does manifest is absolutely up to you. I do not want to insinuate that there's no free will here. There is, absolutely. But all of these things that you desire, you can get there quicker. Listen to your future self, forgive yourself, and watch all of your energy disperse differently. That's really what's going to happen to you. Your energy will disperse differently because it has been repressed in certain aspects. And even if you're not feeling the physicalities of it, the digestion, the left side, the throat, even the aching in the third eye and some burning, sometimes in the crown chakra, it's, even if you're not getting the physicalities of it, it doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't there. We're not saying that to alarm you. None of this is a big deal. It's like going and taking a broom and a little clear up. That's all we're talking about. There's no alarmment here. I don't want you to go into the fear front. I don't want you to worry about anything. You're an alchemist. This is your power. This is the last step to regain that power on your own terms, instead of allowing the floodgates in where, your power is based on everybody else's terms. That's all we're saying. So I hope this gave you some insight and some practical advice for you to move forward and take in the messages from your inner self and your future self, so you can claim and that beautiful articulation, get out there and change the world and serve the world the way in which you've always wanted to. And you have been doing, but you will be doing to a much more powerful degree. So do let me know in the comments how this worked for you, if this resonated with you. Do let me know. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe if this is energy that you feel like will be or could be great in your life. I would love to hear from you guys. Sending so much love and light to you, Pile 1. Always, always, always. Until we meet again. You take care. Bye-bye. Okay, Pile 2. If you chose this blessed bee with the lotus flower here. Oops. Where are you going? These messages are for you. Very much high energy here of the high priestess, not just the divine feminine, but the high priestess. Again, shifting of perspective. We'll see how it works. That definitely was a shifting perspective in Pile 1, but I feel as though your energy is already different. But let's get into what this is. 1,000. Okay, so definitely working with increasing of power, which again was, the underlying message for Pile 1. But let's see what your energy is here. So again, let's check in with your higher self. Messages from your higher self. What do you need to know now to get to that as your present self, to get to your higher self, to get to your future self right now? Miracle. Okay, life experience. Let go of belief systems that no longer work for you. An important life-changing event, a situation that leads to significant opportunities. So there's a beautiful thing happening here. So the first message that I'm getting for you, Pile 2, is let the energy in. If something crumbles, we often feel as though we need to pull it back up and maybe go through it the way that we want to. I keep seeing you look through the rubble. Sometimes we just have to let rubble lie. This is your tower moment. A lot of people are frightened of the tarot card. They're frightened of the death card. Totally understand why. They can seem really... they can signify death. Actually, I kept getting the tarot card, I think, a couple of months before my mother physically died. I also had a lot of dreams and stuff like that. But, your psyche is trying to prepare you. And your future self is saying to you that there is a death of sorts coming to you. And I feel as though for most of you, again, this is a general reading, and I often feel as though for, people who come in for different piles, you're always at slightly different aspects or at different parts of the journey. Some of you may be feeling the tarot moment where everything is falling around and your interior is, relatable to the exterior. We're seeing systems being pulled down. We're seeing the chaos out in the world. Seems chaotic right now, but actually we're actually coming to the point where everything is crumbling. And there is definitely a part of you that wants to either go through the rubble or wants to keep up. There's an aspect of you that obviously wants to wants to let the crumbling happen, but is also really not necessarily fearful. But you have a sense of integrity. And also you tend to overthink a little bit. So if you let the crumbling in, is it a sense of authority that we have to do? Do we have the right to do all of that? Let me get the Goddess Tarot right now to get us some clarity on this. Your miracle moment is coming is that the one thing that I am being told for you, pile two, is that it's really important for you to work a little bit differently. You in the past, and again, there's no judgment with this. It's a very specific way of doing it. In the past, you let healing come in increments, and that's where you were. You had to let things happen incrementally. And for those of you who have been systematically hard on yourself, why aren't I there? Why is everybody more successful than me? Why which again is a totally reasonable way to be. A lot of people compare each other. We're all so different. We can't do that, but we constantly do that, and we're in a Western society. If you're in a Western society that actually causes you to do it, in fact, wants you to do it, right? But really, at the end of the day, you had to move slowly. You had to move incrementally. You're very, very old souls. And it's really important for your wisdom to take root, to move slower. But this is just change for you. Your transformation moment has just shifted where you're not doing things incrementally anymore. So your message from your future self is let everything in and let the light. I keep seeing, you see pictures of this all the time, that the pavement or the sidewalk, I guess you guys call them over here. And then, the weeds come up, and the weeds are really beautiful, and they come in besides the pavement. It's like beauty grows everywhere, right? That's how you were before. And you were absolutely not a weed. You were beautiful. And actually, dandelions were considered weeds, but they heal you. So I feel as though the way in which you see yourself needs to be shifted, and you're working on that. But the most important thing is, and the way in which you will shift on seeing yourself is allowing the light to stream in now without doing the incremental part of this. The last part of your healing and the transformation is just to let it all in, to release and let go. Now, that is a little counterintuitive to how you've done things before, so it may feel a little uncomfortable. And as you start to let go, you might want to tense up a little bit and sort of revert back into old stuff. That's fine. That's fine. Keep at it. Keep at it. Your future self is saying, just move forward in the releasing aspect. You had to move slowly before. Everybody has their own version. It's really important to honor everybody's version of their journey of healing. We don't know what others have been through. Give everybody space to do things on their own way. Not one way of healing works for absolutely everybody. Thank goodness there's many different ways to heal. And whatever energy you're attracted to at that time may be what you need in that moment. And then you release yourself from that. You learn what you can from that person. You move on to something else. That's perfectly reasonable. And that's how you've done it. You've done it slower because you're very careful about your healing. You've wanted to go slowly. You've wanted to make sure that absolutely everything gets uncovered. Again, going through the rubble. But now you're being asked to crack it open, not go through the cracks anymore. Crack it open and allow that miracle to come in, because that's the last part of who you are. And, you're moving beyond the polarity of good and bad and good and evil. So, before you might have been a little bit afraid to not do the incremental part of the healing and crack wide open and allow this light in, because you'd be like, I don't know, it'll be too overwhelming, maybe that's bad. But you move beyond the polarity. That's the last part of it. You're understanding as well, this came up in pile one, that you are alchemists. You're here to take on large amounts of energy and transform it to higher versions of what it formerly was. That's exactly who you are. You can absolutely take it on. And every little incremental victory that you had over who you are and over your past has created this really strong, beautiful foundation and platform for you to allow this, freedom to let freedom reign in, and you'll enjoy it more. I mean, the sense of freedom that you're going to get from this is beautiful. So yes, the star card, absolutely. Let's take this one too. Yeah, this struggling, this moving sort of against yourself, against the sort of working with the will, with the pragmatic, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. Again, no judgment. That's the way you needed to do it. And the carefulness worked for you then, because again, you got to look through everything, and you really did pick through aspects of your life, like you're like a buzzard, you don't leave anything. There's nothing left. When you've moved on, you've gone through every aspect, every perspective, every feeling and emotion. Absolutely. But there's a part of going through all and constantly through that. The Five of Staves reversed. You no longer need to do any of that anymore. Again, it's a break in the system, the life expectancies here. No longer the belief systems, moving out of all of the stuff. Again, it's very disorientating sometimes, just admitting that what worked before maybe doesn't quite work in the same way that it does now. But it's also if we hold on to the old, it can be a little bit debilitating, and it doesn't bring us to the true form of transformation that we could absolutely have if you just allow in this sort of this miracle, this brightness that knocks out the old, where we don't have to constantly go through the rubble. You have the Star card. I consider the Star card sort of the wish card, which is also the Nine of Cups. And it's reversed. So this is the old you, still trying to be in the old, but also knowing, you absolutely know that it doesn't work for you anymore. It really doesn't. And there's a part of you that's already given it up. You do believe in miracles. You do know they happen. You just don't. You have to get in line with it. We don't have to do anything. It'd be great from your future self to get in line with the idea that miracles happen for you too, and you absolutely deserve them. And the miracle just is just letting go and allowing in that help, that releasing. It sounds very woo-woo when people say just release and let God take over. What does that actually mean? Everybody says it, but what does that mean? What does that mean for you? It means that you trust in your own beauty. It means that you trust in the work that you've already done, because it's given you this really firm foundation of who you are. And now you're ready to be broken wide open and just be new to the experiences, that what that balance will bring afterwards. And not be afraid of any of that darkness that still may be lingering in certain aspects and part of yourself, to be shined a complete light on and be dispersed pretty much immediately. So we have effortless. Yes. The way in which you've worked before has not been effortless. You've really been very much engaged in how you've done the, you've really straddled, complexity and control. But you again, the way in which you've healed before has been beautiful. But what your future self is asking you to do is to have an effortless life. You deserve it. There's no reason why you shouldn't have an effortless life. And there is an aspect of that releasing. Now, you had to get to this point. You had to do all that sort of, micromanaging does come up, a little bit of real talk. But, people micromanage because that's what they need to do to feel safe. So I want you to know, your future self wants you to know that the way in which you did things were beautiful for you. And that's absolutely gorgeous. But now it is time for that let go. It is that time for the release, and see what happens. I'm going to do this. Yeah, I turned it over because I really felt that before I even saw the card, that's what I needed to do. Dawn, new beginnings. Now, I want to be clear that the new beginnings are not far off. You don't have to wait. That's why we have this reading, right? That's why we have this reading, because your future self is saying that you can have this new beginning right now. And remember, the new beginning happens because you have done so much work in the past, because all of those little victories that you've had has made you such a beautiful, pure person. I don't really like the word pure, because I feel as though religion has done something really weird with that word, but you do have a purity of heart. You do have a purity of spirit, and you did have to move very, very quickly. And I can understand why at certain times of your life, you're like, like, oh my goodness, why is this taking so long? But you're so new that it needed to pace itself and you needed to do things thoroughly. You've done that. Now, the last part of it is just to release and have this now. Remember, 1,000%, not even 100%. This is how much your life will improve once you release into who you are. So these are the last message that we have here, which is my own personal my own personal oracle that I made. And here we have it. So let's see what we have. Your last message here. Okay. Let the releasing begin. Nothing that was meant for you disappears. You can never be left behind. So this is actually, I'm going to pull another one for you because that actually came up for pile 1, which is really interesting. And true happiness comes from seeing joy in the emptiness. Embrace the void. Yes, that goes with the life experience there. Don't be afraid of whatever is left. Don't be afraid of the void. It actually presents a dawn, a new beginning for you. Because you are moving you're being asked, your future self is asking you to release into a brand new thought form of how you release and how you've done things in the past. It's going to feel uncomfortable at the beginning. And like we said before, if there's a couple of false starts, you go into the releasing and then you clam up a little bit, that's fine. Still go on it. It's not, this is not a movie here. You don't go out into the field and all of a sudden you get it. And if that happens for you, go you. That's amazing. But if it doesn't happen like that, that's okay. It can still be somewhat incremental, but the energy around it is much more powerful and is much more open to the releasing in all of its form. You're releasing everything on every cellular DNA level, your ancestors here, who you were in past lives. Everything will improve. And seeing the beauty in the void too. This is a brand new way of being for you and a brand new understanding of who you will be on the other side of this pure releasing. You don't know who that will look like. So of course you're going to have a little bit of apprehension. But this is your root and this is what you're owed. I know a lot of people say, you shouldn't say that you're owed anything. I believe everybody is owed happiness. I believe everybody is owed love. And I believe that it's there for them if they claim it from the universe and self-love. And this is the way that you can go in and claim that for yourself. And it will be on your own terms, even if you use your alchemy that you're doing to transform in a much bigger way than you've done before. All you're really doing, if it makes you nervous, is taking the way that you've worked before, putting it all together. All the increments come together and then releasing it all at the same time. And who you will be on the other side of this will be very different. And it will be the person that you maybe couldn't have predicted before because you were on a linear path, and you won't be on a linear path anymore when you let this energy in. But you will be on the path that you directed for yourself and that you are absolutely owed and you absolutely deserve. So, you're not leaving anything behind and you're coming into yourself. You have absolutely got this. This is a brand new way of being in the world, but it is a beautiful way of being. And remember, we're going to leave you with this last card of miracle. You are a miracle. This is the miracle. How you got here is a miracle. But to really witness and take in the energy of the miracle, really allow yourself to witness that miracle by releasing and letting go. So, my darlings, thank you for tuning into Pile 2. If this resonated, please do feel free to give me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below. And as always love you as a subscriber if that's where you feel like this is energy that you need in your life. Until we meet again, Pile 3, you take care. Bye-bye. Sorry, that was Pile 2. All right, this is Pile 3. And this is you. So this is coming back to you on the understanding that this is a little bit different from your ego. You have moved beyond the ego and you are figuring this out for yourself. Now there's a perspective shift. There's overlying stuff that's happened with the messages here from Pile 1 and Pile 2. And this is a beautiful thing. But I feel as though for you, Pile 3, this is definitely about reclaiming a sense of beyond the ego and beyond the need to be right. There's a new sense of peace and trust within you. That's absolutely beautiful. And we're definitely going to work on that, get you some more ideas and more messages about that in a second. I'm just getting myself situated here, so just give me a second here. And so if you chose this, ancestors are behind you. This says sister, but it's also about connection within families, within communities. That's who you are. Justice and beauty within communities and families. That's what you are here to give space to and bring new light to. So the platform and the energy of the messages that you're getting from your future self to your present self are, let's see, self-worth, and it's reversed, and strength. This is beautiful. Now, 1-1, for those of you out there who have been getting a lot of those messages through like feathers. A lot of people see feathers. A lot of people see crows or ravens. And ladybugs are coming in, spiders for some, but also numbers can come in sequential numbers, something that might be coming in and around you. Your guides are absolutely around you, but also on a very specific note that I didn't pick up on Pile 1 and Pile 2, which is really interesting, is that I'm sure that you're very aware that there's different versions of us in different timelines. Now, I feel as though these messages that we're getting, you see this, I actually thought this was talking or, you were asserting yourself beyond your ego, but I just got a completely different message for you. We were absolutely tuning in with the messages from your future self, but your timeline for your future self and who it is that you want to be, quote unquote, is actually coming into this timeline in the present. So you're already melding with the messages that are coming in. And that's not to say that, Pile 1 and Pile 2 aren't there yet. It's not about that. Again, we have to be very, very careful about our perceptions of things. But this is very strongly your timeline of who you want to be actually coming in and touching the present timeline in such a way. So your messages are sort of being delivered a little bit differently. So this is actually you. It's actually you. So you are actually the timeline. I think you might have just moved into it. These are general messages, and everybody is on a journey. And even if you picked this pile, sometimes people are in different aspects of that journey. So they're going to pick up and really resonate with certain messages and go, I'm not quite there yet. Oh, that totally happened to me last week, etc., etc. For you, there's a lot of the strength that's come in from seeing the timeline of who you always were. This absolute strength and really encompassing your self-worth. This is a very different message because you're actually your future self. I know this sounds a bit woo-woo or a little bit sort of like Terminator, that movie, the chicken before the egg. It comes down to save somebody, how does it all work? And I don't want to get into sort of timelines here and how time doesn't work or non-linear and linear. Let's not go into, the physics of it here. But I feel as though your reading is actually, you are that future self already in the present, which is so interesting. So this is already taking on a little bit of a different energy. So I'm going to treat it a little bit differently. Let's get some clarity cards from the Goddess Tarot right now and see what your messages are. If you're already, so you've got your toe in, you're actually physically pulling in that version of you already. So the messages aren't really coming from your future self. They're coming from your actual soul. And technically that's for Pile 1 and Pile 2 too, but this is working a little bit differently. Let's see what we have. Yeah, the balance. Okay, so I'm feeling like I want another one from you also. Oh, yes, sacrifice. Okay, and one more too. Yeah, so, yeah, this is definitely a different energy around this. This is really intense and very powerful. Man, you guys have so much power around you. Okay, so this is what I'm getting for Pile 3. Tremendous power. You guys are here to be future leaders. There's no doubt about that. Everybody is leading Pile 1, Pile 2, absolutely, in their own way. Very, very, very important part of the connection here on Earth as starseeds, as light workers. But we also, as we stand together as the collective, which we do, and we stand together as chains in a link, we're also here to have our own personal sort of aspect of who we will become, and use our uniqueness to transform the world. You are extremely powerful. You are powerful leaders, in the most profound of senses. Now, you may have used that power against yourself. You may have been frightened, rotten of your own power. People may have been terrified of you too. People may have reacted to you quite violently on many different levels without knowing you at all. You may have taken that as people, prejudging you or judging you almost immediately without knowing you, and maybe seeing that as just a pure reflection of what people do in Western society. But it went deeper than that. People sense that power in you, and it initially it shed a light or reflection onto their darkness, and to the fact that there was so much work that needed to be done. And even if you didn't feel it yourself, even if you felt messed up at that time yourself, you still held that power and that light within, even if you weren't at the time of shining it, or even if you weren't, I would say, in control of it. Very, 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 very powerful. You've had to learn this balance between a sacrifice of your own self and a sacrifice of your own wants and who you are to be in this lifetime. You have been, your version of reality here has been to chip away at the ego, which kept you very much alive at the beginning of your life. But you've had to chip away at your own ego and really get behind it and chip it all away. And that's what you're doing now. That's why you've melded into the you of bringing in your future self right into this present moment, because the ego has actually shifted away. That's not to say that sometimes you won't get head up and you won't react to things, but you will be able to take a step back and say, you know what, that's the ego. I'm not reacting from that place anymore. You've come full-fledged into who you are. And the way in which you celebrate yourself will be very, very different. There's a new dedication for you, pile 3, to dedicate yourself to a life of service. And the way in which you saw service before is, being out there. We've used Jesus again. He keeps popping up here, I think in pile 1, of being out there, giving away everything that you have, being poor, being out there always in a sense of, for you, not that Jesus was like that, but in a sense of lack, having to be in a sense of lack to really understand how to be powerful and how to be part of the universe, how to pull in everybody else's perspective, how to understand and be empathetic with everybody, and to see everybody for their own worth. Now you've redefined that on your own terms. There doesn't need to be that sacrifice. You can be very powerful. You can actually attract all of this wealth, and you can redistribute that wealth to help others to be able to do that. You did have a lack, especially with abundance and money before, because there was a part of you that genuinely believed that you had to be constantly poor and constantly in this state. For you, for sometimes it felt like in lacking, in order for you to be able to do real good on this, to be able to do and transform the world. There was a martyr aspect to your version of healing, to your version of who you needed to be. Now you've transformed that. That power can come into not real power. What you were doing before was very powerful. And at that time, it was really important for you because, again, you needed to chip away at that ego to move beyond it so you could see a new version of you and see you in everybody. Now, I want to do this too. We have... want to check the Earth Magic cards here. So this new version of you has brought you into this brand new timeline that is your future timeline right in the present, because you understand that power actually can come from all sorts of different places, and you don't have to say no to any kind of power in order to embrace it. Maybe there was an aspect of you that would have come in from a past life that abused power before. You came in with this power, but you may have abused it in past lives. So you may have been afraid of what you would do with it beforehand, but you don't need to worry about that now. Personally, in this lifetime, you never needed to be afraid of how you would wield your power in this lifetime. But there was an echo of your DNA. There was an echo of your understanding or your belief or your memories from a past life. So it's understandable that echo played a certain amount of a role in how you saw yourself. You're no longer afraid of your power. You're actually really curious by it now, which is really a beautiful place to be. So let's see what we've got here for some extra messages. Radiance. Hello. I mean, radiance. Summer solstice. Yet you're coming into a new version, not just a new version of yourself, but you're coming into a new version that's based on the self-worth, that is no longer based on other people's opinions or projections of you, which is extremely powerful. It really is. You've dumbed yourself down. You put yourself into these little pockets of society, sometimes as an experiment to see how it would go. You didn't always think it would work out right. You kind of knew you were dumbing yourself down, but you were willing to do it anyway. You're definitely the sort of person, and I gotta say, I really respect this. I respect all people and what they do, even if I don't respect all people, but I respect where they're at. But I really respect this in you. There's not a situation that you wouldn't have put yourself in before just to see how it would be. You know, you're an explorer by nature. There's nowhere you wouldn't go. In some ways, you're fearless, but you've used that fear against you sometimes because you were innately afraid of your own power. So you've not been fearless in this world so far, but you've had an aspect of fearlessness that never ever left you. Now those two can incorporate and do something really powerful in this lifetime, which is to become the person that you were always meant to be. Now, this radiance is something that you have never experienced before. And for those of you who have tried to balance out aspects of yourself before, which is perfectly reasonable, the balance happens naturally now because you don't need to fight against yourself. You don't need to sacrifice anymore. You have redefined your life and your perspective based on the increase and the beauty of your own power, and pulling that in without fear and without needing to constantly justify yourself. Even if you didn't justify yourself to others, you constantly seem to justify yourself to yourself. And yeah, moving beyond that ego. And this is something that you've been doing too, you know, healing your DNA, healing your ancestors, healing your bloodline, really rising up for those of you who, I don't like the term black sheep. I really don't. But for those of you who felt connected to their families maybe, but didn't feel as though they were on the same path as their families, at least initially, as the paths you got a little bit older and things happen, you may have been able to connect and see each other differently, and perspectives may have changed. But for those of you who did not initially feel as though they were on the same path as their family members, I feel as though there's a shift in that connection too, in the way that you see everything that's happened in your life. And expect, you know, family members to come back and new contracts to be made, new sort of spiritual contracts to be made in how you live in the future. And it may not be the people that are coming back into your life may not be the family members that you think that you're going to build those bridges with. It could be somebody really random that you never thought in a million years would reach out to you. But expect that too. We're in retrograde season all the way up until, I believe, October, first, second week of October. This brings back the old. This also brings back, you know, people back into your life. And this can be a great thing for you. You might be experiencing this already. So these are my homemade tarot. I keep saying tarot, my homemade oracle cards. I'm going to leave you with this message here just to seal the deal, as it were, for your reading here. The best things are revealed after we realize their worth. See worth in everything and everyone, and you will live your best life. Absolutely. And that's what you're doing. Your sense of radiance, your sense of acceptance of yourself, your sense of acceptance, particularly, specifically, with your own power beyond your ego, is making you realize, when you reflect on your life, again, this corresponds with what we already touched on with your family. Everything needed to happen that way. I want to be really clear. I do this with all my readings. It does not mean that you accept how you were treated. If you were abused or things went down that were not cool, it doesn't mean it was okay. It does not mean that it was okay, and it does not mean that you need to let that energy into your life. Absolutely not anymore. But you can see it from a different perspective. You can see it from a narrative, perspective. Okay, this happened. What do I get from that? There was a lesson there. That's great. How can I take that power back from that? Release it completely so I never attract this back into my life. It's never at any point saying that any of that was okay, but it is extracting that power that may have previously taken power from you. You're no longer doing that. You are no longer having that power being taken from you. You don't need to do that anymore. So the sense of self that you have, which is already playing out in the future, you've got several timelines going on, pile 3 going on at the same time. You've probably got several versions of yourself already going on. You choose the more powerful one by accepting your power on all levels and accepting the fact that you no longer need to sacrifice, and you will move into the most powerful timeline that you've already got your finger on it. You've already got the finger on the pulse, the most powerful timeline that you've got there. So just move forward the way in which you are, and there's nothing that will go wrong with this, because the radiance that you have there is not only on the path, but remember, you are a powerful world leader. I know that sounds a lot, but you are very, very powerful. I felt this energy the minute I started putting down these cards. You are here to do something massive, absolutely huge, and everything that you've done in this lifetime has been leading you up to this moment. And for those of you who have pulled on, who chose pile 3, you totally understand this. You absolutely do. You feel it. I know you can feel it. So rise up into the most powerful timeline that you're already pulling into who you are, and go get your life. So for those of you who chose pile 3, do let me know down below if this resonated with me, with you. I always love hearing from you, so do feel free to give me some comments in the comment section down below, and also feel free to subscribe. Of course, I always love to have new subscribers and people who love this energy in their life. I'm really excited to see what you're going to do, pile 3. Till we meet again, sending so much love and light to you. Seriously, love and light. Bye-bye.